Hey, welcome to Bass and Bonsai.
That's how we do it. Mwah. That's exactly how you do it. Hello everybody, welcome to Bass and Bonsai. Today we're going to talk BFS. What in the world is BFS? Bait Finesse System. For those of you that don't know, it is simply using a bait caster to cast lightweight stuff. Not necessarily in a finesse presentation, but lightweight stuff to fish. Now it started, I believe, with trout fishermen, small streams. I'm just going to explain real quick what BFS basically consists of and what you have to have in order to have a BFS system. You need the ability to cast lightweight baits to the fish. So on a normal bait caster, that's not going to work because of mainly the spool. It's got a deep spool, holds a bunch of line. What you need is a shallow, lightweight spool for BFS. That's the main thing you need on the reel. Then you need a rod capable of, a lightweight bait, loading that rod up to get a proper cast. That's the only really two things different from a normal bait casting system. You can Google DIY shallow spool, BFS spool, ZPI, KTF, Vail, maybe Kasuji makes a spool, and there's probably a few others. And you can find spools to put in a reel. Maybe you already have. Maybe they don't make them for every reel, but for a lot of different reels. But if you want to go and just get the reel already made, put out in a box to you with a shallow spool, there's a bunch of options now that weren't available just not too long ago. But for me, and if any of you are watch the channel, you'll know that this is my favorite. LTX BF8, it's their newest Revo, shallow spool Revo anyway. Now they make an ALC BF7, which is an aluminum frame, same spool, a little cheaper, but it's not as light as this. It's a magnesium frame, I think plastic side plates. Now, I've put out a few videos, and what I would suggest, if you're like, I don't know if I want to get into BFS or not, this reel right here. It's been talked about on several different forums. Maybe you've heard something about it, but the only way I can find it, looking up on AliExpress, and you can come across these, find them, make sure you have the shallow spool. They make a few different variations of this, and there's also a few other reels that pop up. That's where I found the Steed. It was these are like $58 reels. That LTX BF8 new was like $500, and you can get it for about $300 or so, if you check around on eBay and places. But these can be picked up brand new real easily through AliExpress for like I want to say $58, $68 maybe now, but I think I get $58 for that. Now I've upgraded mine a little bit, upgraded it to me anyway. I've lightened it up by putting a different handle on it. There's the handle it'll come with, which is big, bulky, aluminum heavy, that I don't really like that. Now, I haven't talked about rods yet, but rods, I'll tell you real quick. It's not advertised through anything you'll see, but I came across these, and this is kind of what the rods I've started out with years ago, the old lightning rods. This rod rating is way off. I went out, I've already done test casting on this. Look for that video. I compared it to my nice FInesse rod. This one's just about as good as far as casting lightweight baits as what the FInesse does. But if you're looking for a true BFS, you want to cast those smaller trout, real lightweight stuff, almost like for me and around here, crappie type fishing stuff, it's hard to beat this thing. Kine Teton, I picked up one of those, and it's 6'3", very it's about like what you would think of a lightweight, even an ultralight crappie rod, and its build quality is real good. It is two-piece. There, I think you can get some in a one-piece, but they double in price. Instead of being like $48, $58, they turn into $89, $99. And the two-piece seemed to work good. I've used it for about a season now. Same thing with both these reels. We've kind of used this one on and off throughout the season. It seems to be holding. If anything, it casts a little better now. The bearings are a little more broke in, I guess. Probably not as much grease in them. Oil, so they're working good. This one, I did a shootout. Look for that video if you're wondering, well, which one's better out of the two. I still this one just looks better. The spool weighs less, looks like it should cast better, but it doesn't. The XF50, just the settings, the dial, this dial is misleading. It doesn't work quite properly. I think it needs more magnets, if anything. There's spots for more magnets, and I think it needs more magnets because it feels like you need to turn the brakes up just a hair more. But it's not a bad reel, and it was about the same price as the XF50, and it's the Hybo Steed, and it's on AliExpress. So I also have, now this is an alphas with the Kasuji spool, and look through one of my videos, you'll see it with the bare spool. I think I did all the weights and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to jump down here real quick and talk about, well, maybe I'll just pick them up and hold them. I try to make quick videos. It don't always work out. Sometimes I don't make quick videos. But let's get a weight just so you'll have an idea of like, well, how much do these lightweight spools weigh? Alright, this thing weighs 10.3 grams. 10.3 grams. This is a pretty light spool off the Aurora, but we're going to weigh it. And it weighs 11.8. So there's not a huge difference, but like I talked about, when you add the different, add all that line up, it makes a world of difference. I don't spool, now it does have line on it, so we'll just give you an idea. And it's not full. It's about as much line as you would need. See, say if you were going to make one into, you know, try to use it for BFS and put line on it. You have to get it to there to then put your line on it. That's extra line you don't necessarily need on there. This thing weighs 16.9, so it's a lot heavier. Talk about some of the baits and why I use. So you're like, okay, so what? I got this. I don't, you know, if I want to crappie fish, I'm a bass fisherman. Because if you're a bass fisherman like me, and hopefully you're watching Channel 4 Bass and Bonsai, like, well, what do I need that for? All my bass rods work fine. If you're, you know, struggle on your regular bait casting gear and you have to go, you resort to spinning gear and you don't really like spinning gear, that's where BFS, for me anyway, and for you, would come in handy. It lets you take a bait caster just like this right here. Now I maybe can't throw crappie jigs with this. I haven't really tried it yet. But my favorite thing, and the reason I looked into shallow and the pixies and all that and lightweight spools, was I like throwing this little finesse shaky head dude. 16th ounce. I found that thing I can creep across the tops of grass, and you know, in that gunk that normally any other kind of jig or worm much weight would get caught up in, I can fish that very effectively. Problem is, find something that casts it real good. Well, I did a shootout. This little setup did as good as my high-end BFS setup, but that's why I got into getting the BFS stuff originally. And you could throw a lot of different stuff. One of my favorite things this year I caught on, and favorite things to throw now, was basically taking this little 16th ounce jig head, putting these rattles on it, and using pretty much any kind of crawdad imitation, you know, like the tiny. This is the Smalley Beaver, your little fuzzies from Riot, and this, I don't know, the smaller, I think it's the smallest Kitech creature bait they have. You can stick it on this. Yes, it weighs, you know, over, and you probably think, well, I can throw that with my bait caster. But no, you might be able to toss it out there a little ways. You can kind of zing them out there with the BFS stuff. Same thing if, say, you want to downsize, you want to throw small buzz baits. Well, that little thing right there casts real great with the BFS rod. Like that rod I just showed you, all these baits will work. The frog, now this frog, I have a hard time getting hookups, but it's almost impossible to throw a small little hollow-bodied frog with a normal bait casting gear. Now I'll shoot to right what my favorite things, period, to throw lightweight, smaller bait casting gear is. Like top water, this is the Mega Bass, little baby Pop X. And that thing is also, you know, you can zing it a long ways with the BFS rod and reel. But I like to rig this thing just like that, and it's weedless, and I can get it through the gunk more. If you know, if you're in real clear water, then yeah, use a standard jig head that you'd use for the Ned rigs and the turds, TRDs. But I like to use it on this guy right here. You can throw, you know, for me, any of these smaller baits that would, you know, you'd struggle. Bait casters, you'd want to use spinning gear probably. I can throw all these with the BFS. Any rod and reel that I have that's BFS. Enough. Get out of here. Go bass and bonsai. Thank you very much for watching this channel. Help share this channel. Tell anybody you know, your friends, your neighbors. Oh, get it! Yeah! It got it.